Hey guys, how's it going? Today on the show, we have another edition of drag racing out at the track, and we also have a spectacular failure, so stay tuned. It is 25, 26 degrees out right now, and humid because it's storming kind of around us. There's storms kind of going everywhere. Good first race of the night. We're going to race the 1320. I love these cars. And it's in a plum crazy purple, which is really sweet. Beauty cars. Should be a fun race. These cars are actually ridiculously fast because they're converters. So we'll see how this goes. That automatic and converter and line lock combo, it's tough to beat. See what happens. Oh, they're having trouble with the light. Okay, now we go. Well, let's see how the track practice tonight. First race of the night. Should be a fun one. Should be really close. 1320. I haven't raced one, so we'll see how she goes. Spinning's not winning. I got him. I got him. Oh, I got him. No way. No way. I can't believe that. I spun like a madman on that one. Whew. No kidding, eh? Oh, my God, is it ever hot? Wow, it is roasting hot. Oh my God. Well, that was interesting. First race ever against the 1320. Did not expect to win that. I'd like to see the time slip on that one, because I don't think, I have a feeling he spun. I want to see what a 60-foot time is, because those cars with their torque converter and that, I mean, the 8-speed's already quick, but just with the torque converter, line lock and everything, like, they're really set up great for drag. The springs that they have in there, they're really set up for a great launch. So against a 6-speed manual, just me and my stupid left foot trying to keep up with that 8-speed is super tough. So I did not expect to win that race at all. So let's take a look here. Whoops. Okay, that first race, guys, I got a 13 flat. 13 flat at 4,292 feet above sea level. So almost 4,300 feet above sea level. 13.0, I had a 2.0 60-foot time, which I'm surprised because I was spinning there. Man, I'm surprised I got that good on that 60-foot time. That was a lot of spinning. Good 60-foot time. At 107 miles per hour. His time was a 2.0 as well. And he had 13.1 at 106. I'm really surprised by that. I mean, generally I'm really close with the 392s. It's usually like a neck and neck sort of race, but like those 1320s are usually another beast. So I'm actually really surprised he didn't wipe me off the planet with that one. But really good race, really fun race. Now, chatting with the driver of the Scat Pack, it turns out he was a super nice old fella from the next province over from me, Saskatchewan. They came out just to race for the weekend. I think they had some family around the area. Came to take his Scat Pack out, told me about some of the cool Mopars that he'd built up over the years. Currently owning one monster 440 engine that sounded just amazing. Super nice guy. It sounded like after the fact, I was surprised at the time that he was running, and I think that was partially justified because he explained to me afterwards that he couldn't really figure out how to completely get it in track mode. He was worried that it was kind of kicking out on him. Well, not necessarily kicking out of track mode, but it felt like the traction control was kicking in on him. And on track mode, you should have all of your traction controls off. So he sat around for a little bit and tried to configure his car and kind of show him how track mode works, how to get it to stay in track mode. Once you've turned it on, get it in track mode, make sure it stays there. Because I think the default setting is once you turn off the car and then turn it back on again, it goes right back to your default settings, which I think in his case was sport mode, I think. Can't remember off the top of my head, but super nice guy. That was a great race. The first time I got to race a 1320. I've seen a lot of them run at BC and they are friggin' fast, especially with a drag pack. Get a drag pack on those cars and they fly. Now we're going up against an Elantra. A Hyundai Elantra. What a weird car to go up against with a drag strip. And he just drove right through the water box and didn't do anything, which is weird. Now with this Hyundai, because he drove straight through the water box and then didn't stop, what he's basically doing is getting a whole bunch of water in the treads of his tires and then just slowly rolling up to the line and stopping. So all the water that he collected from driving all four of his wheels through the water, it's gonna sit and collect underneath his tires. So when he launches hard, it's just gonna spin on him. Just so you know, if you guys haven't been to the track, if you're not going to do a burnout, if you've got street tires on your car and you decide that you don't want to do a burnout at the track, the best thing to do is drive around the water box. Every track has kind of a path that you can kind of kick around to avoid it. That's the best thing to do. A lot of cars that have all-wheel drive tend to kind of avoid the water box in general. Very rare that they have 4 drag tires on them or something like that. So if you're not going to do a burnout, avoid it, keep your tires dry. That's the way to go. If you're going to do a burnout, by all means, drive through the box, get those tires nice and sticky so you have a really great launch. Okay. Got a little bit of heat in the tires. He's fully staged. So let's see what we can do, fellas. Let's try to get a good launch. And not the best. Not the best launch. You could tell the car kind of bogged a little, like it definitely didn't get it just singing out of the hole. You could tell that my RPM launch was too low. I think I started somewhere around 3 grand. It's tough because I was watching the light and then just out of my peripheral vision I'm looking roughly where 3,000 RPM is. But you could tell that when I launched, it bogged on me. So you can tell that I think I either let the clutch out too slow and that let the RPMs drop enough that it bogged, or I just dipped the RPMs just before I let off the clutch to go out and it bogged. Just not enough RPM just to make the front end jump up on launch like I did on my first launch. So you can definitely tell that that launch was nowhere near as good. We still beat him, but I don't think that 60 foot's going to be great. So let's take a look. That last run, yeah, that last run was a 13.3 at 107. So you can tell the launch was way worse. 2.2 on the launch when I hit a 2 flat earlier. So yeah, you can tell the launch was horrible. That was the difference, 100% in the launch. So yeah, 13.3, he got a 13.6. I did kill him at the tree. I tend to kill most people at the tree at street legal nights, but not a great launch. Definitely not a great launch. That was not my best. We'll say that. We'll come back, cool down a little bit. Maybe not too much, but we will cool down a little bit, and then we'll give it another go here in a minute. So after we were about halfway through the event, they announced that they were going to do a thing called dial in for dollars. And basically what it was going to be is everybody picks your dial in. And basically what you do is you pick your dial in. If you've never been to bracket racing, basically you're picking a dial in time. You're selecting a time that you don't think your car will go over, but your car has to be extremely close to that time. So you're trying to pick the closest time that you don't think your car is going to go over. And the person who is the closest to that time plus the reaction time. In this contest, they factor reaction time. So they take the difference of a perfect reaction time minus the difference of your dial in versus what you ran. And those two numbers, whoever got the lowest number out of that, the closest to their dial in, the closest to zero out of that, they were going to win $500. And there's two prizes. So first and second place took home $500. So initially I dialed in at a 12.9 thinking that 13 flat was my best time. 12.9, there was no way I was going to touch 12.9 tonight. It was just too much DA for my car to overcome on a night like tonight. Well, the other thing that they don't tell you is that they run continuously. So they go 5-6 rounds and they just keep going and going. Like basically you get out of the lanes and you go straight back into the staging lanes to line up and get ready to go to race. So there's not a lot of cool down time. And we know what happens when our Hemis don't have time to cool down. Any car for that matter. Don't give it time to cool down, you start losing ET. So you start running a little slower and a little slower. So that 12.9 that I knew I wasn't going to touch, all of a sudden after my first run, I wasn't going to get anywhere close to that. The nice thing was they allowed you to adjust your dial in after a couple runs. So after a couple runs, I adjusted back down to a 13.1, which after my car was completely heated up, I figured there was no way I was going to reach. Oh, we caught him, so that means we were closer to our dial in than he was. So that's a win for us. Okay. Oh, it's close. Okay, now let me lay out this last run for you guys a little bit. So just before I went up to do this last run, it was the last round of the dial in for dollars, and they had announced over the big speaker in the PA, because they have an announcer that's talking and kind of announcing all the different races and the lineups and matchups and stuff like that at the track, like they do at most tracks. And he had announced that there was two cars that were very, very close to their dial in, and the last run they ran were almost perfect runs, like they almost cut a perfect light. So the difference between their dial in and what they ran and the perfect light was going to be very minimal. So immediately I knew I was in trouble. I had a couple runs that were almost perfect lights as well, but at the same time I wasn't super close to my dial in. I was a couple tenths off my dial in, which was not great. So I knew, listening to the tower, that I was going to have to pull out an amazing last run to hit my dial in. I knew I was going to have to launch really, really hard to be able to hit it, because I was running slower and slower as my car was heating up more and more because he didn't have a chance to cool down. This led to some problems for me. Well, check it out anyway. Got my motor to cool off a little bit, so that's good. Just running the fan non-stop. Just even when I'm doing my runs, my fan is wired just to, I've got it jumpered, so it's just running non-stop here. So we'll see what happens. Try to keep it as cool as possible. If I'm gonna nail my launch. We go all out on the launch. See what happens. Okay. All or nothing, all the marbles. Uh-oh. That's not good.
Broke?
Something's broke.
Okay. I just gotta get a couple people here, help push.
Okay, no worries. Yeah.
Shut it off?
Yep.
Yeah. Neutral?
Yep.
Ray, you wanna get him out of there? We'll push.
Officers, we are